Welcome to the America First Warehouse weekly podcast. I'm here with the great Steve Schmidt, the brains behind the operation. A special thanks to Joe the Box. This is his inspiration and vision. And we have Teresa Helfrich, who keeps it all together at the warehouse, coordinating, planning,
Trying to. Good morning.
rallying.
Yeah, you name it.
Unbelievable day yesterday in the Bronx. We were so excited. For those of you who don't know, I'm with Real America's Voice News as well. And we were on the ground covering the rally, and it was so amazing. Check out my Twitter page at Dave Zier and on Truth Social at David Zier. Trump retruthed our coverage. He was so excited to be in the Bronx. And the story on the ground, Steve, there is that 50% of the people in that 46th NYPD precinct up in the Bronx live at the poverty line or below. And the crime, the burglaries are up 40% year to date in the neighborhood. Robberies are up 20%. Felony assaults are up 20% plus, 30% in other categories. And this is the story of the Bronx. People live in fear. And everywhere we go in the country, it's usually illegal immigration, the economy, national security. But there, it was legal immigration, but it was first for them is their backs are against the wall with the economy. They can't make it in the Bronx, run by the Democrats for 100 years, and they don't feel safe on the streets. And it was very moving and very touching. So I know you guys at the warehouse had an event, a watch party. You had over 100 people here, right?
We did. It was very exciting. Energy level was through the roof.
Wow.
Well, this is a good
The
panel
Boogie Down
right now
Bronx.
because they were here at the warehouse last night with, the 100 guests. You were on the inside of the rally, David, yesterday, and my crew, we caravanned in and around the Bronx and Trump Tower and around Crotona Park, and we were on the outskirts doing. It was amazing, and so to have three perspectives here is great.
Yeah.
I will share that Wednesday people were trying to scare us from going. And I just felt compelled to go, so we did a big caravan from Long Island. The energy on the road was electric, and every narrative that you would normally believe went out the window. Every different nationality, race, creed, color, you name it, they were out there cheering us on. When we got into the projects of the Bronx, we got out, we parked, and I'm getting chills as I'm talking. It was so they looked so hopeful when they saw us. They couldn't believe that we were there, and it was great.
Yeah, well, the history of the Bronx is that this was right next to AOC's district, and she was critical of the rally. She was celebrating when it rained like a tropical storm in the morning, but it cleared up. The heavens opened up.
That
Trump
was God.
came out, right? But there were 3,500 people inside the rally. There were a couple of thousand overflow as well. And to get those kinds of numbers in the Bronx in just something that was put together in the last few days, and it was not a big venue, there was nowhere to park, so you had to walk in or Uber in, basically. And, to get those numbers out, and about 50% of them were minorities. Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Trinidadian, Dominican.
Jamaican, we met everybody yesterday.
People from Peru, Central America. And, they're upset about the conditions going on. And in New York City, 26,000 New Yorkers have been assaulted to date just since January. 26,000 people, felony and misdemeanor assaults combined. 545 women have been raped. And the numbers of car theft is about 5,000 already. So the Dems have failed the people. And Trump has an opportunity. Ronald Reagan won New York State in 1984. Trump could win it. It's going to be very difficult. It's 2-1 Democrat. The demographics have changed in New York since '84. But it's a bellwether for all of the other cities.
I am sorry, but
Philadelphia,
I think New York is
Atlanta.
red. I think New York is red.
Well, it's a big obstacle to
We had
overcome.
clean voter rolls. New York
Right.
Citizens Audit said it would be a toss-up state.
And that was in 2022, or 2020 rather.
Right.
Now you're talking 4 years later, people are struggling even more. All I felt yesterday, the message I kept hearing, these people want change, and it's turning
Well,
red.
you got to remember the Democratic machine in the Bronx.
Well, yeah.
is very, very hardcore. They control everything, and it's very hard to get a Republican base out in these boroughs, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. There is a shift, and but this is about the other cities in America in the battleground states. Trump is at 10 points plus where he was at this point in time in May of 2020, and in the presidential race. So if you get another 10% of the black vote to come on top of who've left Biden already, and you get another, 5% of Hispanics, and you get another 3, 5, 10% of the Jews who are being let down, by Biden, this is a message for Detroit, for Philadelphia, for Atlanta, Georgia, and other states that are in other cities that are in swing states to help win those states. He's only
And we saw we saw a lot of Hasidics and Orthodox Jews heading
was a lot.
Heading down. Then we got to see some sailors and some Fleet people, and it was great to cheer them on. But it was a big mix of people, and it was really moving.
Yeah.
The word that both of you used, right? And David, you were at the epicenter of it. The word you both used was epic. And so there is a shift. Trump may not win the Bronx. He may not win the state of New York. However,
It's possible.
this was a transformative event. Trump is a historic, transformative figure.
Absolutely.
And the thing that is amazing is the left is questioning the authenticity of the people that were there.
Oh, they were pulling on my heartstrings.
Right. Then a lot of these people, I bet you a lot of these people weren't really from the Bronx, right? It was very authentic. Trump was very authentic. And the thing that was amazing is he, as Steve Bannon has said, he didn't pander one iota.
He didn't.
He did not pander, and he gave a very typical MAGA speech, and it resonates with all Americans.
That's
Well,
right.
It really, this is his home turf, right? He's a New York City guy. One guy came up to me and said that Trump's father paid for his family's private school tuition when the father had a heart attack. Fred Trump knocked on the door, showed up and said, "We're paying your kids' tuition." That's the history of the Trump family.
You just gave me chills.
And
again.
nobody really knows that about the Trumps, that he's so generous. I had a guy in Iowa came up and said, "My dad's in the military, and he's been paying for my father's chemo treatment for years," But Trump gave a very good speech that was tailored about his history of building in New York. He went there, and he talked about his renovation of Grand Central Station he was involved with, and he really connected with the people. And he also said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And
That's
he said
right.
his father worked 7 days a week. 7 days a week. And that Trump's work ethic, I think, is on parallel, Teresa.
It's you don't have to. His work ethic, the way he carries himself, the way he faces this abuse and attack. I couldn't. I think I'm strong. I couldn't. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to get spiritual here, but Steve and I have talked about this. I feel like he's anointed. There's something very special about this man to withstand what he's with what's attacking him,
Yeah.
and to be able to come to the Bronx and he did tailor it, like you said, and it wasn't really it wasn't pandering at all. And really, if we could try to make this a non-left-right issue, he said black, brown, white, whatever, we're Americans and we're hurting, and it doesn't really matter. The left is the catalyst, but
And the
there's
left in New York says, get out if you're a conservative. You're not welcome here. But Trump's like,
That's
I'll
why I
work
won't
with the
go.
governor. I'll work with the mayor. And remember, Mayor Giuliani wouldn't have been mayor of New York City unless he took the liberal line from Ray Harding. And he was also pro-choice. And he was able to secure the mayorship in New York City. But the stuff that Giuliani did is gone. There's no vision in the Democratic Party of the Anchor Revitalization Program that gave loan guarantees to builders taking risks in 116th and Lenox and Harlem, led to the Harlem Renaissance. That was Rudy Giuliani, all Rudy Giuliani. Fulton Broadway Corridor, Brooklyn, Mermaid Avenue, and Coney Island. And then the New York City Housing Partnership stuff he did, where he took whole blocks of housing and demoed them and gave builders the opportunity to build 3-story townhomes and gave them title and deed to a home, so they're not renting. 94% of that district we were in yesterday are renters. You need to give people home ownership opportunities so they have a vested stake in their community. Giuliani did all that, and you could eat off the floor on the Upper East Side, which has gone to pot again. all the robberies and stuff like that. We have Professor Nick Giordano
Yeah.
here.
I'm going to swap out with Nick
Are
in
you?
a moment. Yes, I
It's
am.
up to you.
Yes. So, but David, I
Yeah.
just wanted to say, contrast Trump's message of hope, of unity, with the speech that was given by the supposed commander-in-chief, Biden, at the college. Was that Morehouse College?
They
Was it?
turned their backs on him.
And the thing
They
is
should've.
that, you know, it was really one of, it was not uplifting, it was not inspiring, it was really trying to, it was very divisive, and the government is the answer to everything,
course.
right? So it wasn't hopeful. The contrast is stark. And the thing that I want to just leave with is, was you mentioned some of the policies, whether they were policies of Giuliani, policies of Trump, how the per capita income was up under Donald Trump, and after the tax cuts, and it benefited the lower income people the most. And the reality is, I challenge anybody to tell me what are the top 3 things, 2 things, 1 thing that the Democrat Party, the policies, the leadership have done to truly elevate
Yeah.
the black Americans, minorities in this country, to truly elevate.
Well, you can only give handouts for so long.
Yeah.
And then 2 or 3 generations into that, you
That's
lose.
it.
And they lose. So you can, you could have the great society, but they took the fathers out of the homes. They broke up the American families. Even in white Appalachia, it's not just a black and white issue, a black issue, And, this is the consequences, and that's why
Yeah.
you have the Bronx.
All by
Right.
design. It's all by design.
Well, it's a pandering, it's hard to get engaged and actually create economic opportunity and to bring jobs. Everyone can say, "Oh, I want to bring jobs," but the task of doing that, Rudy Giuliani did that not only with the New York City Housing Partnership and the Anchor Revitalization Program to restore commercial, big tenants and owners to look and bringing Disney to Times Square and stuff. There's no plan. The Democrats don't have that plan at all. They're not doing any of it.
Nope.
So all you see is high-rises going up in the city with no purpose, and their real estate values have suffered up to 85% in the owners for those buildings. So rent is still $4,500 a month on average in the city, which is destroying the middle class. But the properties are being devalued
Right.
because nobody wants to relocate their business in New York City.
And I'm just going to say this to touch on this topic before we switch out. I'm going to go big or go home kind of person. I like things on a grand scale, but I'm also a grassroots activist. And I yesterday realized it might take more than doing stuff at the top. I think my new mission's now going to be going into these underprivileged areas that nobody touches and getting the message out. These people are hungry for hope and to see that we're not against them. I'm not really privileged either. I have to work very hard to feed 4 kids. I want to go talk to I might go into the dangerous
The pantry
places.
lines, they told me in the Bronx, they line up at 4 in the morning for food.
It
in
was
the Bronx.
America. I don't understand, and I want them to understand that we are coming to help. I want them to feel like there's hope
And
and,
the
help.
illegals are getting the food.
Of course they are.
before
It's
people who need it, veterans.
well now you're
hardworking,
giving these people.
multi-generational legal immigrants.
That's right. Now you're giving these people a reason to have a line in the sand, and they're starting to come on our side, and the shift is happening. But I think we need to do a little more boots on the ground, grassroots work in those areas, and I'm starting to feel committed to do that.
Yeah.
Talk about elevating. I am going to step out. We're going to bring in the great Professor Nick Giordano and elevate the intellectual firepower of this podcast team. Next time, Teresa, try to come dressed a little bit more patriotically, please.
This is actually a little toned down for me.
Right. Okay.
I'll do my best.
Nick.
I'm dressed like I'm in the mafia today. What's
I'm
up,
dressed
Dick?
like I'm going to the beach.
You
Right?
are- it's
You're usually
Memorial
in a
Day
suit.
weekend.
It's Memorial Day
How are
weekend. I
you?
figured we'd be
What's
behind the
happening?
desk
Well,
over here.
We're going cash today.
So,
I see that.
Professor Nick Giordano from the PAS report. What kind of guests you got going on?
I have J. Michael Waller coming on Monday. I got Louis Gomer coming on soon.
Excellent.
So we got some good things going on over there.
All right, that's very good. I'm sure you've been following what's going on. Tomorrow, I will be on the ground in D.C. covering the National Libertarian Convention, where Donald Trump was invited to speak. I wanted to talk about the dynamics of the election. You know, if Trump pulls an extra 5% in the black vote, an extra 10% or 5% in the Hispanic vote, maybe 10% of the Jewish vote, maybe more, you know, now you add the Libertarian vote. And in 2016, Gary Johnson was the candidate. They only got 3% of the national vote. And in Joe Jorgensen in 2020 only got 1%. But isn't that 1 to 3% important for Donald Trump to show his face there?
Yes, absolutely. If you look at Joe Jorgensen in 2020, if you take a state like Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin, well, that was the margin that Trump lost by. So if he gets some of those voters, it eases his chance to get back into the White House. And I think that the Trump that we saw last night is the Trump we need to see for the rest of till election day.
Yeah.
The optimism was really important. You know, Republicans have to move away from that doom and gloom and present an optimistic future for America. That's important right now, especially if, as Steve said, Biden gave that dark speech telling black Americans that democracy doesn't care about them, that Republicans want them to leave the country. They don't see him as a future of America.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are waking up that, you know, this idea that Biden claimed he was the uniter and the chief, he's the most divisive president that we've seen, and he wants to pit Americans against each other. Not him, his staff.
I think
because they're the ones
Obama
that
might
write
be
the-
first in that category, and
Yeah.
Biden's just carrying out the rest of Obama's work.
Well,
maybe.
he reads what's on the teleprompter,
Yeah.
Biden. But when we look at it, it's clear that they want to pit Americans into groups and have the groups battle it out, where Trump's message last night was one of optimism. It doesn't matter if you're a black American, Hispanic American, Asian American, white American. He wants to see Americans succeed. That's it. He wants to help New York, make New York a better place, the once great state and city that it was, and he's willing to work with Democrats to do that. At the same time he's saying that, you have Governor Hochul mocking him and calling his supporters a bunch of clowns, and it really shows you how the parties are so far apart, where you'll constantly see the left denigrate Trump supporters and any type
And
of
Trump
Republican
said
supporters.
he would work with the Democrats.
Correct. Well, I mean, don't forget, Governor Hochul was the one that said that black people don't know what computers are, poor black
Yeah.
kids in the
And they don't
Bronx.
have licenses.
And, and her and Andrew Cuomo both told us we're not welcome. in
But
New
you
York
know they're
State.
scared, though.
As for being on the right. We're not welcome here.
They're scared. You saw the reaction
doubt.
to Trump giving the rally in the Bronx from Hochul, from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, from Hakeem Jeffries, from a number of Democrats. They were angry about it. They were angry that he was coming to speak. And so it shows that they do have this fear. And I said a couple of months ago, it's not out of a realm of possibility that Trump wins New York. I wouldn't put money on it.
Yeah.
But if we take Zeldin's margin, Zeldin lost by 5 points. If Trump's picking up black support and Hispanic support, and he's picking it up
Yeah.
from places like
And the
Bronx,
battleground cities.
correct. Well, then you could see him close that gap. And the real question is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. going to get on the ballot? And as of right now, last poll I saw is that he's actually siphoning votes not from Trump, but from Biden.
Yeah.
And finally, the most important thing is President Trump, or former President Trump, is talking to voters who haven't actually voted in the last couple election cycles. The disaffected voters that feel that their voice isn't being heard. I'm sure you saw it a lot yesterday. I was watching your coverage. It was great coverage, by the way.
Thank you.
Of speaking to the voters. And there's something going on here in New York. And I think that the next city he should go to is Chicago.
Well, the Democrats were in full panic mode, Teresa. Yesterday, you had AOC blasting the event. You had the Democratic Congress, and this was right next to her district. But you had several assembly members, too. Amanda Septimo, John Zaccaro Jr., all these people. And they were in full panic mode yesterday. And they got the SEIU, which is the 1199.
Yep.
United Healthcare Workers, which is 452,000 of them. The New York Nurses Association has 42,000 of them. All these groups, the Hunts Point Community Group, where Hunts Point has prostitution and open-air drug and prostitution markets like Corona, Queens, and, part of AOC's District 2, I believe, down there. And then you had all these other activist groups, New York Immigration
the flyer.
Council, and the Point, and there's another one, Mom Something, which represents Latinx groups across the city. But nobody showed up. The event yesterday in the Trump rally, the minority vote showing up was organic. You can't force this.
No.
And because if it was organic on the other side, you would have had throngs of people coming out. We don't want Donald Trump here. We don't want Donald Trump. But nobody even showed
There
up.
was
There were
20
like 20
of them.
protesters.
There was like 20 of them. I
Yeah,
counted.
and let's be honest.
Yeah.
I
These are
mean,
the
whenever
groups.
there's not a single
Yeah.
person in the Democrat Party that could draw a rally like that size, right? Joe Biden gets like 10 supporters whenever he shows up somewhere. And again, usually it's the union leadership that forces some of their members to go, and that's what it comes down to. It's not, nobody's sitting there saying, wow, I really want to go to a Biden rally and stand out there for hours upon hours on end and listen to Biden speak. Nobody's ever saying that. AOC, she cannot draw crowds like this. And, you know, when you look at what's
Can't
going on in
happen. Won't
American
happen.
politics, you said that 1984 was the last time a Republican won New York State. Now is an opportunity to change it, but it feels reminiscent of the Nixon campaign, right? When Nixon ended up having the largest electoral victory in the history of the United States.
Suffolk County. My boss, Buzz Schwank, the Republican leader here, God rest his soul, was my mentor and boss for a long time. He was the RNC leader. He was the Suffolk County GOP leader. He brought Suffolk County with an 81,000 vote majority
Wow.
for Richard Nixon in New York.
Yeah.
It was the biggest margin in the country.
Well, listen, I mean, people could feel what they're feeling on a daily basis. Every time they go to a grocery store, every time they fill up their car, and there's nothing more insulting when the Democrats are coming out saying, shut up, the economy's working great. Well, don't you see it's on fire? It doesn't matter about your individual economy. No. Individual economies is what drives elections. How people feel is actually important, and it's
It's the
amazing.
economy, stupid.
Absolutely, how far they moved away from Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton won partly because of Ross Perot, but also because he showed empathy for what Americans were struggling through at that time during an economic recession.
Well, you had 87 to 92 was a terrible recession. You had the housing crisis.
Correct.
You had the stock market crash of 87. You had the peace dividend where we went from 20 divisions down to 13 divisions. Aerospace companies. Long Island lost 250,000 jobs. 50% of them were bread and butter machine shops and defense-oriented technology groups and machine shop houses. You know, Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, you know, Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, General Dynamics, North American Rockwell, AIL Eaton, Fairchild Republic, you know, and all these companies just got decimated.
Yeah.
So Clinton's rise was because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, you have to show empathy for what the voters are going through. And if you listen to Trump's speech last night, that's exactly what he did. I hear you. I feel your pain. I know what you're going through. You shouldn't have to be
Clinton
victims
said,
of
"I feel
crime."
your pain."
Well,
That's
that's
right.
why you
Yeah,
said.
yeah, it's good.
I shouldn't have to, you know, you shouldn't have to sit there walking down the street and wonder, is someone just going to walk up to you and knock you out or rape you or do something? You know, that Americans should be able to thrive and prosper. We are the wealthiest nation in the world.
I saw fear in people's faces. They said they can't like walk at night.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They some of the stories were, I couldn't live like that. I mean, God bless me for being blessed enough to live in a nice town. I mean, I struggle, but
Yeah.
I couldn't. I can't imagine people have to live like that. These poor young kids. I was even thinking like a lot of them are walking home from school, and I was nervous for them,
Absolutely.
like walking.
So this site in Katona Park, which is the South Bronx, but it's not like deep.
Why do
in
they
the
call
heart.
it South Bronx? To me, it's
Well, it's
you know,
part
Close
of
to the
South-
water,
It's part
right?
of the South Bronx. You know, it's
by
on
Arthur Avenue. You get some great mozzarella.
we were there yesterday. We rolled up on Arthur
Borghetti's,
Avenue.
the whole thing. But I like Amelia's over there. But it's south of the Cross Bronx Expressway. So that whole point, including Hunts Point, all the way over to the Bronx River by Yankee Stadium, that's all the South Bronx, right?
Yeah.
And it goes down. So, but that area, like I was saying earlier, had 30% increase in robberies, 20% increase in felony assaults just year to date since January in that 46th precinct where I was. But this was a mile away from where that woman had the belt thrown around her neck, dragged down the street, and sexually assaulted in the street.
Yeah, I
In the
saw
middle
that
of the
horrific
prime
video.
time evening hours. You know, and that's what's going on there.
Yeah.
And the stuff that's going on is horrific. Now, it's maybe not as openly bad as 1979 with the piles of rubble everywhere when Jimmy Carter walking through. And remember, Reagan did not get a good reception down there.
No.
So this Trump is a sea change.
Yeah.
This Trump visit,
Well-
the fact that there was no one booed him at all except for 20 pro-Palestinian protesters.
it.
I thought that was a big statement.
To me, the funniest thing was watching all these far left loons posting video pictures of, oh, there was only, a couple hundred people there, but they actually had the timestamp of the picture of ABC 7 at 11
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
No,
Yeah, of
'cause
course, it wasn't ready yet.
There
wasn't
were only
started yet.
500 people there at 11 in the morning,
Yeah.
but there were like 7,000 people by the time the event ended because 3,500 were allowed in, and there were a couple of thousand people at the overflow. Think about how many people couldn't get even near the place.
well, I think NYPD's estimated now is about 20 or 25,000 showed up.
That's,
throughout the
that's
day.
heavy. That's heavy. But
I'm saying,
I
what
thought
they-
so too, but somebody did an aerial view of and it looks like thousands and thousands of people.
there were
so-
thousands,
There were
in the
thousands.
overflow. But again, it's in Cortona Park. There's nowhere to park. And even if you take public transportation,
It's a
they
pain.
weren't letting people in, because they only got a permit for the 3,500. Next time, he's got to do Yankee Stadium.
Absolutely, and the Garden. I'm hearing right.
They're working on it.
Very
the
exciting.
Garden, Yankee Stadium, and again, I think he has to go to Wrigley Field in Chicago. He needs to hit up all these hardcore Democrat strongholds because if he starts peeling away from there,
Yeah.
Democrats, they're not defending these areas. They're so cocky and arrogant.
That's
They
right.
think, you listen to Hochul yesterday. They think they got it won already. And so you start peeling away at these areas, that changes the entire dynamics.
That goes to what's going on in New York City. He keeps flipping the script on the left. He's bogged down in the trial. But, between the bodega visit in Harlem, the construction worker visit, pizza with the firefighters, and now this, they continually, and then the Wildwood rally, which was extraordinary, right?
I'm still on a high from that.
Yeah, and
And that made the left go crazy too.
it's changed. It flipped the script on the.
sure
on
did.
The, this, I feel like they're like
The
the
stigma.
elitist communists in the DA's office and New York City government.
But it's something that you and I have been speaking about for a while now, where these voters are gettable, but Republicans have been ignoring them for so long.
And that's the other
Republicans
part.
surrendered these areas. Trump
Republicans
is saying, no,
haven't
I'm
done
not.
anything.
Yeah, correct.
But in the Bronx, it's changing. They got a councilwoman, a Republican elected. Now, there's only 6 of 51 council seats Republican, but a woman did get elected in the
Yes.
Bronx. And you also have a lot of Dominican guys. You had a guy running for, I think he was running for maybe Attorney General from there. So there is a rise in the Republican Party for the Dominican population there.
But that's because there's outreach going on now, right? Trump is the one that has really galvanized this new mishmash of Republicans that exist. If you go back, and we don't have to go back that far, go back 10 years ago,
That's right.
The Republicans were the party of Wall Street, the elite, college
Oh,
graduates.
the white old rich
That
men
script
type of
has
thing.
entirely changed. And Trump,
Yeah.
it's not like you have these natural coalitions coming together. It's just ordinary Americans that just saying, I want the country I used to live in to come back. I want to have opportunity. I want to have success. I want to work hard.
Well, a big factor yesterday was, it was crime, the economy, illegal immigration. Is a lot of the people that were there, who were minorities, were here legally for 2 and 3 generations. A lot of first generation people from Trinidad, all over the place, and they're upset that they had to wait for years online to get here, and the illegals are jumping in and then taking the food from the people
Yep.
who need it, and housing for our veterans and for others who need it in the city. But there's a whole thing. It's a whole ball of wax, mental crisis, crime, and all that.
Sure is.
What do you think, Teresa?
I think, well, to go back to what you were saying before, all these groups, they put that out yesterday. I find it crazy that we're the party of, being divisive and hateful, and that they're putting their name, these people running for office now in the Bronx are putting their name on this list and saying, we're not welcome there, go home. And I just find it to be, besides hypocritical, it's what's keeping people thinking that this is, the narrative that they're putting out there is it's non-existent. It's
No.
literally non-existent. And if we can do a better job as Republicans, patriots, American citizens, getting out there, uniting with each other.
Well, I've been pressing the RNC, and I've been pressing, even Trump at the bodega when I asked him, what are you going to do to address Atlanta, Philadelphia, all these cities? And I've been pressing Lara Trump and hosting these black pastors. The Republicans haven't done much.
No, they have to
No,
go.
they haven't.
They have to go into the trenches. I learned that yesterday. We were in the projects. We parked the car, and I was, like I said, they tried to scare us from going. And I said, I'm not going to be scared. Something was compelling me to go. We got out of the car. We were having men on the streets talking to each other and offering hope and having conversations. So I do a lot of flags and rally waving and all that. That's great. I think my new mission is to really encourage people like us to get into those places and to literally show them and talk to them and like boots on the ground, grassroots. That's what it's going to take. Look at in 1776, regular civilians dropped their, like, farmers dropped their pitchfork and, like, went and fought for, like, our country. They were a lot of them were regular people.
Now they have to drop their cell phones.
That's right.
Nick, so
Support.
one last topic, the trial. I'll be back in the courtroom all week with Ben Berquam, Andrew Giuliani on the ground in Manhattan. The rules that were set up for the jury charges maybe a little skewed. Right?
I
Very.
mean, the whole trial has been skewed.
Yeah,
If
but
you
now that it's here and in front of the jury to deliberate starting after tomorrow, what do you think? Have you analyzed that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the trial, the good thing is that you do have two lawyers that are part of this jury pool, and you know, if they're real lawyers, right? If they actually take their job seriously and respect the rule of law, then they would have to go with not guilty based on the lack of evidence that the government failed to provide. I mean, this
Yeah,
whole
and there's no predicate for the crime.
correct. Well, they don't even mention what the second crime was, and it's you know, well, it could be that he wanted to evade taxes. It could be he wanted to do a campaign violation. So it's not even like they're specifying.
Well, the jury
what he
does
wanted
not
do.
have to be unanimous in determining the predicates for the crime.
No, but here's the thing. It's a New York jury. It's Manhattan, so obviously it's going to skew heavy to the Democrat side. But if we are being honest with ourselves, and this is what you hope the jury sees, if we are being, all you need is 0.1% of reasonable doubt. If you have 0.1% reasonable doubt, you got to go with not guilty. When the trial first started, I said that Trump's best chance is that you get a hung jury, right? You get one of the
That's
jurors
what I think.
that is a Trump supporter and looks at the evidence and says there's nothing there, and so not guilty. I'm starting to think that it wouldn't shock me if we see a not guilty verdict coming out of this jury. I think that it's an embarrassment, the type of case that this government, the New York City government, through
If
DA
they
Alvin
do
Bragg,
that, there's no stopping Trump.
well, if they do that, it blows up in everyone's
It blows
face.
up to all the narratives
But this
on the
is
national
why.
scene.
When Alvin Bragg first brought the charges, there were a lot of Democrats that were screaming that this is not the case to bring.
Of course, it was
Now-
passed up.
But now you're seeing why.
So they were trying to limit Brad Smith from taking the stand, you know, and, you know, he was head of the Federal Elections Commission, right? Yeah. So, you know, he was going to make the case that this is federal anyway. Doesn't even matter.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no 7510 violations in the state code because you know, which only applies to state local elections. So how is this in state court if he didn't violate anything at the state level?
Correct. And he was on the federal level. They said nothing. There's nothing there, right? The FBC investigated the Southern District of New York, and trust me, if there was something there, they would have
Found
went
out.
against
Yeah,
him
with
then.
Weissman and that bunch and
Absolutely.
everything.
So the fact that they didn't get him then shows you that this is a BS case. But the scary part is it shows how our entire system is being weaponized to target Trump, but also his supporters. To target political opposition. This is the banana republic you worry about. Now, if you get a not guilty verdict, there's going to be a lot of Democrats saying it's not worth it to bring these charges because all we did was empower Trump further. We're the ones that fueled. If you go to places in Georgia, you go to places in New York, you actually hear black voters stating that the reason that they're moving towards him is because they see the system going after them, trying to take him down. And they know what it's like to go through a system where it's targeting you. And so you have some type of sympathy that the black population is now having for the former president of the United States.
Yeah.
And so a not guilty verdict will go a long way.
There's no doubt about it. Teresa, we wanted to turn to you for an update on what's going on at the warehouse. And everybody go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. And maybe you can tell everybody all the social addresses and a lot of exciting things going on here, right?
There are. We're in the planning stages right now. If you do go to the website that David mentioned, right now you will see we do have our regular weekly scheduled things. Sundays we have the Motor Club. It's for all the car enthusiasts. The America First. Come down, hang out with like-minded people. 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Thursday nights we have Bible study here, which you're welcome to register for and join us. And then we do have Christ to Conquer the Nations here on Thursday nights. We are really trying to support a God and country model here now, like more than ever, and of course America First. In June, right now on the calendar, we have the 14th, which is the War on Truth. It's a movie night, but a special edition movie night. You'll be able to meet director Chris Burgard, J6 Families, and some other special guests that we're coordinating with. And then if you want to save the date for June 27th, we're going to be showing the presidential debate. The flyer will be up soon for that. June 29th and 30th, Tom Homan, the border ICE agent under Donald Trump's administration, and I think he'll be back hopefully soon next year for this. We're having a Border 911 event, which is really just to spread awareness on what's going down at the border, and great speakers and people for that. And there are a lot more great things coming that we are still in the process of working on right now. So keep in touch with us.
Where can people follow us on social? All the
So we have a
avenues?
lot of different platforms now. If you go to our website, the www.theamericafirstwarehouse.com, at the top there's a tab there. You can click on social media, and it'll bring you right to all of our pages, including where to find us today once we're done recording. And we have some great merch up there, and we're starting to really build that website too. So there's a lot of really great things coming in the coming weeks and months. We're excited.
And we're going to try to do some more Real America's Voice News
Right.
specials out of here. And we're
Absolutely.
going to have All Fired Up with Andrew Giuliani. hopefully
Yes,
going
we
this
can't wait
summer.
for that.
That might be a hit show. You got to come on that because, you're definitely funny. And it's better than Gutfeld.
It really is. And if you haven't seen it yet, you can find us on Rumble. You can look up All Fired Up, and you'll have it's a great, I probably watched it 4 or 5 times already.
Wonderful. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. You can donate on that page, support the warehouse, become a supporter for the warehouse.
Yeah.
Nick Giordano, closing thoughts?
I just think we are starting to witness a sea change in the United States, and one that's going to be moving us in a better position to be a stronger, more united America. I think that, again, optimism is the key going forward. I think Republicans have to project optimism. They have to come up with policies that they're going to do that where they put American and the American people first. I think that's really important. Do that. I think it will be a very successful election season. And remember, as quickly as Biden got us into this position is as quickly as we could reverse course.
Well, we hope from your lips to God's ears. My closing remarks, get ready for Michelle Obama in August
Lord,
of
help us.
2024.
And Nick,
No way.
Nick, tell us again where they can find you again.
PASreport.com, or they can follow me on all social media at PAS Report.
Excellent.
That's awesome. And everybody, check out the PAS report. He's got great great guests. And you're on Maria Bartiromo. You're all over Gutfeld. You're all over the place. So, wish you the best of success.
Absolutely.
and
and you have a great guest coming. You have a special this weekend or next weekend?
I have a special. Well, I'm airing the special tomorrow, 8 a.m. on Real America's Voice. Watch Breaking Point, 8 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Download the app, Real America's Voice News app. Follow me at Dave Zier, at David Zier, at Dave Zier on X, and David Zier on Getter, Facebook, Truth Social, and David W. Zier on Instagram. But tomorrow is our special we did from the warehouse with Vicky Palladino,
Awesome.
19th District, New York City Councilwoman, on the problems it was before the Trump rally, but same issues. And parts of Queens had grand theft auto up 35-40%. She's great. She's been fighting
a
with
powerhouse.
the illegals who are demanding all these services like they're entitled, like they're the king and queen coming to America. And she said, what made you think the streets are paved with gold?
That's
In
right.
America, like they're expecting all these things and better food and housing. And now it's costing $1,500 a day per family
And I do want to say quick
in
about
New York
that.
City.
And I did ask her because, my phone blew up when she was having the interview with Sharpton. And she did explain, right? We asked her. She did explain to us what that was about because there was a lot of media attention around that.
Listen,
So
I think
they'll see that tomorrow.
Anything is good, and we don't like Sharpton, but he's sometimes he makes sense, and you got to take anything good you can get out of these
Right.
people.
That's what I'm saying. But I want people to
Even
tune in.
Mayor
I
Adams.
want people to tune in tomorrow and see David's show because we did ask Vicky here that night, and it might help you understand why she was trying to do a across the aisle.
Well, when you're in office, you got
gotta
to
work
project
across the aisle.
statesmanship.
Yeah.
And you have to speak to people.
Absolutely.
And you can't shut any doors. And even if it's one of the haters out there like an Al Sharpton, you still have to talk to him.
Absolutely.
Because he does have influence.
Absolutely.
So all dialogue is good dialogue.
Well, I want people to see that answer tomorrow
Well,
because
and the city council is so skewed.
Right.
51, it's 45 to 6.
Yeah.
Democrat, Republican, and the Democrats are not your granddaddy's Democrats.
No,
They're
no, no,
radical leftist
And
extremists.
she's got a hard job. Isn't she the only Republican on the city? And
There's
Well,
5
there-
others.
There's
I mean, there's 5
others,
now, right? But she
but
was one. You're right, but she was like outnumbered.
She does the work of
That's right. She's a spitfire.
most of them. You know, she's really, really on point and on target, and in a tough position. You know, they keep trying to shut her voice down.
Yeah.
And you know, New York, we could say it's a lost cause, but you know what? It doesn't have to be this perfect, you know, conservative utopia.
Of course.
You
Well,
know,
yeah,
as
you're
long
not
as-
going to get that. I
As
mean,
long as people are safe.
Absolutely.
And as long as businesses are attracted to come there, that's like good enough for me.
Me too.
listen,
We can feed
our
our
entire
families.
system is you're never going to get political purity at all. It's never going to happen. And so you have to pick the wins where you can get them.
Absolutely.
And if you think back, it was just 25 years ago, we had a Republican mayor and a Republican governor.
Yeah.
And we could do it again. Were they the most conservative? No, I am a far more conservative than they were.
Yeah.
Were things a hell of a lot better?
But
Yes.
from a business approach and being a fiscal conservative, and from a business approach and a crime approach, nobody beat Rudy Giuliani.
No.
No, and
Nobody.
they couldn't.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And where can our viewers follow you?
BASreport.com.
All right. That's it. And that's pretty universal across all the socials.
It is.
Right?
Make
All
it
right,
nice and
good.
easy for
Yeah,
people.
I didn't make it easy for myself.
We didn't make it easy at the warehouse either. We have different handles, but
well, it's
they can
hard.
find
Like
us.
I couldn't. There's another David Zier. The guy
Get outta
stole
here.
My Insta.
Does he
name.
does he cook
So
like
now
you?
I'm
Does he
David
play the
W.
piano
Zier.
like you? Does
No,
he correspond
he's
like
an
you?
African American from I think Ethiopia. He played for the University of Oregon.
You should
He's a-
invite him on
I was
Breaking
going to say,
Point.
Star
I want to
football
see. I
player.
want to see a connection. I want to see a you know.
But
you
no
guys meet.
relation. Zir in Ethiopian is like based probably on the Arabic, which means like sincere and gold. And my Zir is really zero, which means dry, arid land from the Greeks because they conquered southern Italy. So I'm a zero.
Well, good thing your family's very colorful. I would say that you guys went beyond the.
Yeah.
Your mom's definitely not the kind of
Well,
woman
they
that's
changed our
boring.
name in Ellis Island, the O to an E, probably so we wouldn't get
Shout out to Mrs.
discriminated
Zier.
against, 'cause, you know, but again, it's not the Arabic numeric value of nothing. I think it means farmer, basically.
Oh.
So thank you, everybody. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. A special thanks to Steve Schmidt, Joe the Box, Steve Mott,
Tracy,
Mott,
Tony, Vertibird, Johnny,
Right,
Allison,
Tony-
Martin, the
John
whole
the
crew.
Blanket,
Johnny, yeah, we got a great
Mikey,
team here. It's like
Mikey, Ponytail Mike.
we're like a family, all of us. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's going to be a hot summer.
Sure is.
Hotter fall. Thank you.
God bless.